Hey everyone, welcome back to theclinicaltrialsguru.com. Again, that website address is www.theclinicaltrialsguru.com. Absolutely the best place online for clinical trials information. Just check it out. We answer your questions with videos, and if we don't know the answers, because guess what? We don't always have the answers. We find guests to interview, and we ask them your questions. We have clinical trial attorneys on, we have doctors on, we have monitors on. I mean, you name it. If they work in the industry, they have been our guests, or they will be our guests in the future. But today we can answer this one. We can actually answer this question, myself and Don. We got a question from someone out in, I think Florida, I'm not sure. But he said, basically he needs help because he's running a site, he's running a clinic, a small research clinic. They're young. They just basically got started maybe a year ago. And he has a PI, a principal investigator, a physician, who is a little bit hesitant to do this one particular study that they got awarded, which involves a Class 2 controlled substance. So it involves him having to put his DEA license on file with the study. And it's very, very common for physicians or PIs to get a little worried about this kind of stuff. Because most studies don't ask for DEA numbers, but when you're involved with a controlled substance or a Class 2 drug, such as this clinical trial, they will ask for your DEA number. And he's concerned that there will be a DEA audit, and he's also concerned about several other things. And we've actually dealt with this before, myself and Don, with some of the doctors that we've come across. Don, what are your thoughts on this?
Well, and you're correct. First of all, welcome everybody. And as Dan said, this is the place to get your answers. And if we don't know it, we'll find someone that does have an answer for you. But you're right. We've dealt with this before on several occasions, and I've had a PI that was uncomfortable too at having their DEA license in more than one location. So I contacted the DEA office and I spoke with them, and there is no problem, first of all. And I would suggest the individual that sent in that email asking that question do the same for their own satisfaction, is to contact the DEA office, and the doctor can do that. What was shared with me is, long as the doctor can have their license in more than one location, first of all, okay. And as long as they're actually prescribing medications legitimately out of that office, they can do that. The other thing that this PI has to understand is that, second of all, he's indemnified, and they should be indemnified by the sponsor. So there is no need for the FDA to come in and audit, because, first of all, any medication that he prescribes is based on the protocol set by the sponsor. And usually what happens on the studies that we've done in the past is that you go into the system and it will tell you, okay, you give this patient this dosage, this patient that dosage, or this patient gets the prescribed Class 2 drug, or they don't get it. And it's not your call. So, but because you are a physician, you are dealing with a Class 2 drugs, you need to have a DEA licensed person at that location. So it's not a problem. And we've been doing it for the past year and a half, 2 years, and there's never been an audit. And there's never been any hint of an audit, and no one's ever said you're going to get an audit.
And what did the DEA tell you when you called them, Don? Or what did you ask them?
Well, I asked them, I said, is this a problem for the PI or for our physician to have a DEA license at more than one address? And the answer to that is no, it is not a problem. As long as they're legitimately prescribing medications out of those offices, because they know that physicians a lot of times work out of multiple offices, so they can have their DEA license out of multiple addresses.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so for those of you young research clinics, the newer research clinics like like the one from the person asking the question, it's pretty common to actually have studies, clinical trials, where the drug, the investigational product, is a Class 2 substance, controlled substance. So you will need to have your PI comfortable with this idea. And it's done all the time. We do it all the time at South Coast. And, you know, we never have problems with that. And you brought up a great point, Don, when you talked about the indemnification. So you got to make sure that that's in your contract. Negotiate that the PI is held harmless should anything happen, as long as you follow good clinical practice. So as far as the DEA coming in there and you know, auditing you, I mean, if you're careless with the drug, they'll do that because they don't want a controlled substance to end up in the wrong hands.
You'll also not just have the DEA, you'll have the sponsor and everybody else.
Yeah.
That's
yeah, you will.
If you're doing all the wrong things, but it doesn't. But if you're doing the right things and your intentions are all right, you have nothing to worry about.
Nothing to worry about, and make sure you know who you're enrolling in the study. Because we talked about this before, where sometimes the study participants, you know, they find out that a certain drug may be popular on the streets, and they go out there and sell it to make extra income. So in a case like this, where you've got a controlled substance, you really got to be careful, and you've got to explain to your study participants that you need every single pill accounted for. Because in these studies, that is looked at a little more strict.
Absolutely.
And in most studies, in studies that don't involve controlled substances, you know, I mean, they're still strict with the drug accountability, but they're more lenient as far as, you know, missing pills. But when it comes to these controlled substances, I mean, every single pill has to be accounted for. And if not, you can get into some trouble there as far as protocol deviations. You won't get in trouble with the DEA unless you know, there's outright fraud going on, like somebody selling the drugs intentionally, or you guys are just careless with the drugs. So, you know, the same things apply here. You'll get audited by the sponsors if you're careless, but as far as the DEA, you know, they won't actually get involved unless there's outright fraud or negligence, gross negligence. So hopefully that helps, and Don, if you got anything else to add, let this guy know. Otherwise, it was a good
I think
conversation.
let your PI, just to reiterate, contact the DEA yourself so you can hear it from the horse's mouth, and they'll tell you the same thing they told me, and then relay that information directly to your PI. If you want, put your PI, both of you get on a speakerphone so your PI can hear that from the DEA. Physicians, and with good reason, they're always thinking on the side of being litigious and something, you know, legal coming up and biting them in the rear end, and I understand that because so many things have happened, but as long as you're doing what you're supposed to do, you have no problems.
Very good. Well, hopefully this answers your questions. Please keep those questions coming. We will answer them to the best of our ability, or we will interview guests who can answer them much better than we could. Thanks for watching. Thank you, Don. This is welcome, Dan and Don signing off from theclinicaltrialsguru.com. Take care.
Bye.